Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar on POSH, Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. My name is Arushi Shukla, and I closely work with organizations to help them build workplaces that are safe, dignified, and respectful for all employees across India. Over the course of this webinar, we will understand the law surrounding POSH, our rights and responsibilities, and what each of us can do to prevent and address sexual harassment at the workplace. The full name of the law is Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition, and Redress Act 2013. POSH stands for Prevention of Sexual Harassment, and it requires every employer to create a workplace that is free from sexual harassment and to establish a proper mechanism for handling complaints. The Act mandates setting up an internal committee in organizations so that complaints can be received and recorded into a fair, time-bound, and confidential manner. To understand how wide the law is, we first need to look at two important definitions: workplace and employee. Under WASH, workplace is not just the office building, it includes all premises where work is carried out, places visited during the course of the employment, and also employer provided transportations. Similarly, employee is very broad. It covers regular and temporary staff, ad hoc or daily wage workers, part-time staff, interns, trainees, apprentices, and even those working on a voluntary basis. So WASH applies to almost everyone associated with the organization, not just the full-time staff. The POSH Act is rooted in the constitutional rights and Supreme Court jurisprudence. It evolved from the Vishaka Guidelines laid down by the Supreme Court in 1997 case, Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan, where the court recognized sexual harassment as a violation of fundamental rights under Article 14, 15, and 21 of the Constitution. The Act came into force on 9th December 2013 and provides a comprehensive legal framework to prevent sexual harassment, prohibit such conduct, and offer a proper redressal mechanism at workplaces across India. Sexual harassment under POSH is defined as any unwanted behavior of sexual nature, whether it is physical, verbal, non-verbal, written, or visual. The key word is unwelcome. Even if someone thinks that they are joking or being friendly, if the behavior is not welcome and it makes another person uncomfortable or unsafe, it can amount to sexual harassment. This includes unwelcome physical contact or advances, sexually colored remarks, requests for sexual favors, showing pornography, sexually suggestive gestures, or any other conduct that creates a hostile environment or offensive work environment. Let's break this down into for some common forms so it is easier to recognize in real life. Physical contact and advances, verbal conduct, visual actions, or written or electronic communications. For physical contact and advances, inappropriate touching, hugging, patting, or invading someone's personal space without consent. For verbal conduct, sexually colored remarks, jokes, comments about body or appearance, or persistent unwanted flirting or propositions. For visual actions, luring, staring, displaying sexually explicit images or videos, or making suggestive gestures, including such made over digital platforms. And lastly, for written or electronic communication, emails, messages, posts, or notes with sexual content that create an intimidating or hostile environment. Sexual harassment at workplace is unfortunately not rare. It is significantly underreported and underacknowledged. Various surveys show that more than half of women workers experience some form of sexual harassment at work, and substantial percentages report inappropriate sexual advances and unwanted touch. These statistics highlight that harassment is a pervasive problem, not a series of isolated incidents, and they underline urgent need for strong preventive measures and supportive reporting mechanisms in every organization. The POSH Act protects all women at the workplace: permanent, temporary, contractual, employees, interns, apprentices, and even visitors who are present in the course of work. The law applies to both organized and unorganized sectors, and to public as well as private organizations, including situations like office travel, training programs, and work related social events. Any organization with 10 or more employees is legally required to comply with POSH and to constitute an internal committee for handling complaints. Even smaller organizations are encouraged to follow these principles to keep their workplaces safe and respectful. Despite the legal protection, a very large number of incidents never get formally reported. Studies show that only a small fraction of women choose to come forward, while around 80% believe reporting will either bring them no action or may even worsen their situation. Some fear retaliation, career setbacks, or social stigma. Others worry about not being believed or about confidentiality being breached. Understanding these fears is important so that organizations can build trust, ensure non retaliation, and make the reporting process survivor centric. There are two broad categories often discussed under sexual harassment at workplace: quid pro quo and hostile environment. Quid pro quo occurs when someone in a position of power demands sexual favors in exchange for promotions, salary increases, better assignments, or threatens to negative consequences for refusal. A hostile work environment arises when unwelcome behavior, comments, jokes, exclusion, display of offensive material, or repeated unwanted advances create an intimidating or humiliating atmosphere that interferes with an employee's ability to work safely and effectively. Both are serious abuses of power and may be addressed promptly. Not all harassment looks extreme or dramatic. Many situations start with small behaviors that repeatedly cross boundaries. Unwanted physical touch, subtle threats about performance or career if someone does not cooperate, or any behavior that makes an individual feel unsafe, humiliated, or coerced can fall within the scope of harassment. A simple test is the behavior welcome or unwelcome. Does it make the person uncomfortable? Does it affect the dignity or work environment? If yes, it needs to be taken seriously and addressed. For organizations, ignoring sexual harassment has severe human, reputational, and financial costs. Negative publicity arising from harassment and related harassment cases can damage brand value, affect customer trust, and make it harder to attract retained clients. Internally, harassment leads to low morale, decreased productivity, higher attrition, and toxic culture. Additionally, non-compliance with POSH can lead to significant financial penalties. For example, in one notable Madras High Court matter, the employer was ordered to pay over 1.68 crores in damages for failing to constitute an internal committee. Every organization with 10 or more employees must set up an internal committee, often referred to as the IC, to receive and inquire into complaints of sexual harassment. The IC is chaired by presiding officer, who must be a senior woman employee with the authority and sensitivity to lead the committee. There must be at least two internal members who are committed to the cause of women and have experience in legal issues, social work, or human resources. One external member must be from an NGO or association committed to women's rights to bring independence and outside perspective. At least half of the IC members must be women, and their tenure is generally 3 years from the date of nomination. The IC should meet regularly, maintain records, and ensure that all complaints are handled in a timely or fair manner. POSH lays down a clear time-bound complaint and inquiry process to ensure fairness to all parties. A complaint should normally be made in writing to the IC within 3 months of the incident, although this period can be extended by another 3 months if there are valid reasons. At the request of the aggrieved women, the IC must first attempt conciliation, but no monetary settlement should be the basis of conciliation. If conciliation is not opted for or fails, the IC conducts a formal inquiry following principles of natural justice and giving both sides an opportunity to be heard, typically within 90 days. After completing the inquiry, the IC submits its report with recommendations, and the employer must implement these within 60 days. Every employee has certain rights under POSH and also corresponding duties to maintain a safe environment. Key rights of the employees include the right to safe working environment free from sexual harassment, the right to file a complaint without fear of retaliation or victimization and seek confidentiality during the process, the right to request transfer or leave during the pendency of the inquiry and to receive a fair hearing with an opportunity to present evidence and appeal if aggrieved. Key duties include maintaining respectful professional conduct and refraining from any form of sexual harassment, cooperating with IC proceedings, respecting confidentiality, and participating in awareness programs, reporting incidents witnessed or experienced promptly so that issues can be addressed as possible. Employers have extensive responsibilities under POSH Act, and compliance is mandatory. They must constitute a properly structured internal committee and provide it with adequate resources and independence. Display information prominently about the IC, complaint mechanisms, and consequences of the sexual harassment. Conduct regular awareness programs and training for employees and specific capacity building sessions for IC members. Assist complainants in filing complaints, ensure there is no retaliation, and provide necessary support during and after the inquiry. Implement preventive policies, monitor compliance, and take corrective actions, and submit annual reports to the district officer with data on complaints and their disposal. Now let's talk about the penalties for non-compliance. Non-compliance with POSH is not just a procedural lapse, it carries explicit penalties under law. Failure to constitute an internal committee or a local committee can attract up to a fine up to 50,000 rupees. Failure to comply with other provisions of the Act or rules can lead to similar fines. In case of repeated violations, penalties can escalate to higher fines, cancellation of business licenses, or even debarment from government contracts. The Act also mentions that malicious or knowingly false complaints may lead to disciplinary action as per service rules. But this clause should never be used to silence genuine complaints. Ultimately, POSH compliance is not just about avoiding penalties, it is about upholding dignity, equality, and respect in the workplace. A strong culture of respect rests on four pillars: awareness, support, prevention, and continuous improvement. For awareness, regular training and clear communication so that everybody understands their rights, duties, and complaint processes. For support, safe, confidential channels for reporting, along with emotional and practical support for survivors. Prevention, for proactive policies and visible zero tolerance stance by leadership, and quick action on early warning signs. And lastly, for continuous improvement, periodic reviews, feedback mechanisms, updated policies to keep the workplace safe, inclusive, and responsive to changing realities. When these elements come together, employees feel valued and empowered to contribute their best without fear of harassment. As we close, remember that each of us plays a role in creating. Sorry, one second. Yeah, in conclusion, as we close, we should remember that each of us play a role in creating and maintaining a harassment-free workspace. Know the policy, support who speak up, and do not be bystander if you witness inappropriate behavior. If your organization needs support in training, policy drafting, or strengthening POSH compliance, you can reach out to us using the contact details on the screen. Our office is located in Gurugram, and more information is available on the website listed here. Thank you for your attention and participation. We can now move to any questions you might have. Please post your questions on the chat box, and I will take them up one by one. Hi, Shweta. I see a question here. For example, I'm out on a work trip. Do instances that happen during the trip also count? Um, Incidents occurring during the work trips, including off-site events, travel for work purposes, or client meetings, all of them are covered by the POSH Act, and the definition of workplace includes any places visited by the employee arising out of or during employment, ensuring protection during the business travel. Hi, Prachi. Your question is, how does the Act protect male employees or address same-sex harassment? Okay. As per the current POSH Act, only women are recognized as aggrieved persons eligible to file complaints at the workplace. The Act does not explicitly provide protection or redressal mechanisms for male employees or for complaints arising from same-sex harassment. But however, most organizations voluntarily extend similar policies to all employees. And in fact, I would encourage all organizations to do the same or further resort to other provisions provided by the Indian law as well. Hi, Kamana. Your question is, what constitutes a false complaint and how is it determined? A false complaint is one made with malicious intent, knowing, submitting wrongful information, or producing false evidence. Be wary of the fact that the Act distinguishes between complaints that are unsubstantiated, that is, not proven due to lack of evidence, and those found to be intentionally false or malicious. Determination is made through inquiry processes, and if IC finds a complaint to be deliberately false, disciplinary actions may be recommended against the complainant. Hi, Harshita. Your question is, what specific actions can be taken against the harasser if the complaint is proven? Uh, if a complaint is proven, the POSH Act allows for a lot of remedies. Some of them are a written apology from the harasser, warning or reprimand or censure as well, deduction from salary, termination of service, counseling, or transfer. In fact, there are monetary compensation to the complainant from the harasser's salary. These actions are based on recommendations from IC or LCs. LC is the local committee. and must be enforced by the employer within 60 days of receiving the inquiry report. Hi, Karan. Your question is, do sweepers and helpers also count under POSH Act? Um, sweepers, helpers, any other support staff are explicitly protected under the POSH Act, which covers all employees, regardless of designation or nature of work. All sectors and types of staff are entitled to file complaints and seek redressal. Okay. Hi, Sunita. Your question is, what are the specific timelines and steps if I want to file a complaint? There is no timeline within which you have to file it. You have to file it immediately to the HR or the ICC committee. Uh, uh, okay. Yeah, that's it. Hi, Yash. I guess you have a question. Yeah. Hi, Yash. Your question is, how can I file a complaint and who can I file it to? Um, Uh, well, basically, to file a POSH complaint, you have to draft a written complaint, including details of the incident, with any supporting evidence. Submit it to the internal committee of your organization, and if no IC exists, approach a local committee at the district office. There is a SHE box, which is an online government portal as well. It can be used for direct complaint submission as well, which forwards the case to the appropriate authority. If the complainant is unable to prepare or submit a complainant herself, a relative, friend, or co-worker, or a legal heir may do so on their behalf as well. Okay, this question is nice. Hi Deepak, your question is, what is the last date for filing POSH compliance for this financial year? For the current financial year, the last date of filing the POSH annual report is, for any year is typically January 31st of the following year. However, the deadlines can vary with some local authorities or states, such as our offices in Gurgaon. So our deadline is February 28th. So it's crucial to check actually which relevant district officer with the district officers for the exact date. And do remember the failure to comply can result in fines up to 50,000, and for repeated offences, cancellation of licenses and registrations. Is that it? Okay. Thank you, everyone.